Woolworths became the first corporate retailer to pledge to cut carbon dioxide emissions from its retail and warehouse network by 63% by 2030 and a net zero carbon dioxide emissions target by 2050. Now, remember, this so-called scourge, carbon dioxide, is 0.04% of the atmosphere. That's 0.04%. But listen to this. Of the Earth's total production of carbon dioxide, human beings only produce 3%. That's 3% of 0.04%. Of that 3%, Australian industry, transport and farms produce 1.3%. Come on. Do they think we're dumb? What the hell are Woolworths on about? But they're not on their own. Bunnings, the nation's leading hardware store chain, has vowed to source 100% of its power from renewables by 2025. Do these people know what they're talking about? Well, today, by the way, that's all impossible, but today the ANZ Bank have said they will implement the most ambitious net zero emissions action of the big four banks, and they'll adopt climate change as a condition of lending, increasing pressure on farmers and construction firms and a range of companies to establish low carbon transmission plans by next year. You see, they don't even know what they're talking about. The problem apparently is not carbon, but carbon dioxide. Well, instead of pretending they know something about carbon dioxide and climate change, the people at the ANZ Bank should work out how they can do better for their shareholders. ANZ's annual profit has slumped 40%. Their cash profit is down by 42%. Of course, they're blaming COVID-19. Well, I'll tell you something. The profits are not going to improve under this administration. Come at this nonsense and customers will vote with their bank accounts and take them elsewhere. The Chief Executive, Shayne Elliot, warned last month that ANZ would get rid of any customer with a dismissive approach to climate challenge. Customers will be quizzed about their public commitment to a net zero economy. Well, I'm telling you, the Shayne Elliots of this world are confirming that not only are they poor businessmen, they couldn't conduct a sensible discussion on carbon dioxide if you gave them a start. He wouldn't come on this program to debate it because they know nothing. Might I remind them of one or two things? Asia has increased its demand for Australian thermal coal by 275 million tonnes a year. That's just Asia. The developing regions of Asia, China, India, Thailand, Indonesia, and the Philippines, Bangladesh, all have low levels of per capita electricity consumption. So they want our coal to give them cheap energy. We've got it. And governments shouldn't be bullied by intellectual lightweights who are running some of our corporate entities. Not when you've got $1 trillion of debt, and certainly not when China are building 220 coal-fired power stations, India 77, Indonesia 35, Vietnam 21, Turkey 5, the Philippines 21. In the world, 35 nations have 467 coal-fired power stations under construction. We've got the coal. And you've got fools, it's the only way to describe them, like Shayne Elliot at the ANZ Bank and people running Woolworths and Bunnings, bullying Australians into not using coal because of carbon dioxide emissions, which are 0.04% of the atmosphere. Bjorn Lomborg is a world authority on all of this. He believes in climate change, as we all do. Climate changes. But he said recently, and I quote, "We need to challenge the ever more rampant talk about catastrophic climate change. Rhetoric has become unpinned from science." Are you listening, Shayne Elliot from the ANZ Bank? On the Paris Agreement, Lomborg repeats what he said many times, quote, "It'll cost between $1 trillion and $2 trillion a year, making it the most costly treaty in history." Well, not surprisingly, research shows, he says, that it will increase poverty because increasing electricity prices hurts the poor the most. As Lomborg recently wrote, one of the world's leading researchers, the Czech-Canadian Vaclav Smil, has said, quote, "The great hope for a quick and sweeping transition to renewable energy is wishful thinking." Lomborg has said, quote, "On a global scale, humanity will be much better off, including in Africa, in a scenario of high fossil fuel use than it would be even if we succeeded in achieving a benign, low carbon dioxide world. Doom and gloom," he said, "distort our world view and can lead to bad policy." He said, "The future is bright and we need smart decisions to keep it so." Bjorn Lomborg. Quite frankly, the board of the ANZ Bank and others ought to have serious concerns about being led by people like Shayne Elliot. And if there are sectors out there who are being threatened by lenders as a result of a bullying approach by banks towards a net zero economy, don't hesitate to be in touch with me. The last thing this country needs are banking bullies. What do you think? I'd love your views. alan@skynews.com.au or 0414 000 848.